What if the only thing left of you was your inbox? Your texts, your letters? What story would they tell? Well, that's exactly the premise behind Virginia Evans' amazing novel, The Correspondent. We're about to piece together an entire life just from what someone wrote down.
So let's dive in and meet our protagonist, Sybil Van Antwerp. Through her letters, we're going to get to know a woman whose entire world, everything from her biggest wins to her darkest secrets, is tied up in the power of writing.
And boom, right there. That's her entire philosophy in a nutshell. You can just feel the conviction in those words, right? This quote, it's the key to understanding her. For Sybil, writing isn't just sending a message. No, it's about creating something permanent, something that lasts. It's about law. It's about legacy. It's everything.
All right, so let's meet her. Who exactly is Sybil Van Antwerp? We'll start by taking a look at the very, very precise world she's created for herself.
Okay, so get this. Every single day is a ritual. Make the bed, clean the dishes, arrange the pens, count the stamps. This isn't just about being neat and tidy. This is a window right into her mind. It shows us someone who craves order, precision, control. For her, these little things, they're not little at all. They're the whole foundation. But, and this is a big but, that super organized private world, it totally clashes with how she deals with other people. Just look at this email. She gets fired from the garden club. It shows this other side of her, prickly, maybe a little abrasive. She's clearly not afraid to ruffle some feathers.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. Where does this complexity show up the most? In her letters, of course. Sybil is like a master chameleon on the page. She can craft the perfect version of herself for whoever she's writing to. Her letters are basically her stage.
Look at this. It's the perfect example. On one side, she's this warm, wise mentor, inspiring a student about the power of words. And on the other side, total ice queen. She's a brick wall, shutting down some poor guy who asked her to dinner. It's the same woman, but it sounds like two completely different people.
So you have to wonder, right? Which one is the real Sybil? Is it the wise teacher, the cold woman who says no to a date? Or are all of these just masks? Is there even a true Sybil hiding under all those layers of ink? Okay, so let's dig a little deeper now, because as we keep reading, you start to get this feeling that her letters, they aren't just about what she's saying, they're also about what she's hiding. Under that perfectly polished writing, there were some serious secrets. And it starts to make sense, right? This whole life of order and perfectly crafted words, it's a defense. It's her armor. It's how she copes with a really complicated, painful past that she never ever talks about out loud. Take her job, for instance. For 30 years, she was a judge's chief clerk, but listen to how she describes it. A cross between his wife and his conscience and his silent counselor. Wow, that is so much more than just a job, right? It hints at this incredibly deep, complex, and probably unspoken relationship. And then we find this, the heart of it all, a hidden family tragedy that explains so much about why she is the way she is. Grief and guilt on repeat for 40 years. That one line just shatters the whole facade. It reveals this immense, lifelong sadness that she has carried with her probably every single day. And just when you think you've finally figured her out, bam, this letter shows up. A sister. A sister she had no idea even existed. Can you imagine? It just flips her entire world upside down. Her whole family history, her whole past, it's all rewritten in an instant. It just goes to show your story is never really finished. So what happens when all these secrets and bombshells finally come together? Well, they kind of force Sybil out of her perfect little bubble. And what follows is this really surprising, kind of vulnerable final act of her life. Just look at what happens late in her life. She takes one of those DNA tests, just for fun, and finds out she has a sister in Scotland. At the same time, her eyesight starts to go, the one thing she needs for her letters. And then, this woman who has barely left her home is planning her first trip overseas to meet this sister. The very world she spent decades keeping at a distance is just flooding in. And all of this forces her to really look at her life. She has this moment of incredible insight where she realizes, yeah, the letters connected her to people, but they were also a force field. They kept her safe, but they also kept people from getting too close. And now,
At this late stage in her life, she finally wants that closeness. And here's the proof, right here. Think back to that cold no she gave the guy who asked her to dinner. Now look at this. It's a letter about possibility, an invitation to Paris, a chance at romance, maybe? It's a totally different Sybil, one who's finally ready to live a life that isn't just on a piece of paper.
But the story ends on this really profound, almost haunting note of doubt from Sybil herself. After everything, all those decades of writing, she looks back and wonders, was it all a waste? All those pages, what do they really mean? It's a question for all of us, really. What's the real legacy we leave behind? Is a life lived through words a life truly lived? It really makes you think.